UN 영어뉴스. Elon Musk tells BBC that owning Twitter has been quite painful. Running Twitter has been quite painful and a roller coaster, Elon Musk has said in a hastily arranged live interview with the BBC. The multi-billionaire entrepreneur also said he would sell the company if the right person came along. Mr. Musk, who also runs car maker Tesla and rocket firm SpaceX, bought Twitter for $44 billion in October. The interview from the firm's HQ in San Francisco covered the mass layoffs, misinformation, and his work habits, but he admitted he only went through with the takeover because a judge was about to force him to make the purchase. And he confirmed Twitter will change its newly added label for the BBC's account from government-funded media to say it is publicly funded instead. During the conversation in which Mr. Musk tried to do the interview as much as the other way around, he defended his running of the company. Asked whether he had any regrets about buying Twitter, the world's second richest man said, "The pain level has been extremely high. This hasn't been some kind of party." Talking about his time at the Hello so far, Mr. Musk said, "It's not been boring. It's been quite a roller coaster. It has been really quite a stressful situation over the last several months." He added, but said he still felt that buying the company was the right thing to do. After building a stake in Twitter at the start of 2022, Mr. Musk made a takeover offer, but Twitter later sued him after he tried to back out of the deal. "Things are going reasonably well," Mr. Musk told the BBC, stating that usage of the site is up and the site works. "The workload means that I sometimes sleep in the office," he said, adding that he has a spot on a couch in a library that nobody goes to. And he also addressed his sometimes controversial tweets, saying, "Have I shot myself in the foot with the tweets multiple times? Yes. I think I should not tweet after 3 a.m., he added. Asked about the decision to add a label on the BBC's main Twitter account, describing it as government-funded media, Mr. Musk said, "I know the BBC is generally not thrilled about being labeled state media." Earlier this week, the corporation contacted the social media giant over the designation on their BBC account to resolve the issue as soon as possible. "The BBC is, and always has been, independent. We are funded by the British public through the license fee," he said. Mr. Musk said Twitter was adjusting the label for the BBC to publicly funded. "We are trying to be accurate," he said. "I actually do have a lot of respect for the BBC," he added, stating that the interview was a good opportunity to ask some questions and to get some feedback on what we should be doing different. The BBC is the UK's national broadcaster and operates through a royal charter agreed with the government. It is funded by a license fee paid by UK households, accounting for £3.8 billion in 2022, about 71% of the BBC's total income of £5.3 billion. The rest of the funding comes from its commercial and other activities like grants, royalties, and rental income. The BBC also receives more than £90 million per year from the government to support the BBC World Service, which predominantly serves non-UK audiences. Elon Musk on labeling the BBC government-funded on Twitter. Discussing Twitter's finances, Mr. Musk said the company is now roughly breaking even, as most of its advertisers have returned. He also said that cutting the workforce from just under 8,000 at the time he bought the firm to about 1,500 had not been easy. He admitted he did not fire everybody in person, saying it's not possible to talk with that many people face to face. The exit of many of Twitter's engineers since Mr. Musk bought the company has raised concerns about the stability of the platform. He acknowledged some glitches, including outages on the site, but he said the outages have not been for very long, and the site was currently working fine. 5 key quotes on buying Twitter. It's not been boring. It has been quite a roller coaster. It's been really quite a stressful situation. On laying off staff, I wouldn't say it was uncaring. If the whole ship sinks, then nobody's got a job. On profits, we could be profitable, or to be more precise, cash flow positive this quarter if things keep going well. I think almost all advertisers have come back or said they are going to come back. On his controversial tweets, have I shot myself in the foot with the tweets multiple times? Yes. On labeling the BBC as government-funded media, we are adjusting the label to publicly funded. If we use the same words that the BBC uses to describe itself, then presumably that would be okay. In the interview, which was broadcast live via the Twitter Spaces service, Mr. Musk was also challenged over misinformation and hate speech on the platform. He claimed that there was less misinformation on Twitter since the takeover, and that his efforts to delete bots, automated accounts, will decrease fake news. But many outside experts disagree. One study, and there are quite a few others along the same lines, found engagement with popular misinformation spreading accounts spiked after Mr. Musk's takeover. He repeatedly questioned whether journalists were fair arbiters of truth, and said he had more trust in ordinary people. On the issue of legacy verified blue ticks on the platform, Mr. Musk said they would be removed from accounts by the end of next week. Former Twitter executive Bruce Daisley, who ran the business in Europe, the Middle East and Africa for 8 years, said the interview gave us some insight into the strange life of this billionaire. He confessed today that the only reason he went through with buying Twitter was because he believed a judge would force him to go through with the transaction. He's never admitted that until now, so it was a very whimsical interview. Mr. Daisley also suggested the interviews showed Mr. Musk was not always consistent in what he says. Elon Musk has an estimated personal fortune of almost $190 billion, making him the world's second richest person, according to the Forbes billionaires list.